Hello, and greetings. My name is Tao. This is iGaming Africa, and welcome to this webinar. And we are going to talk about trends in gaming, the pros and cons of machine learning and AI in gaming. I'm very honored to have with me a group of panelists, quite amazing people that I want to look forward to learn to. And just before that, I would like to welcome you from any part of the world that you're watching us live from. Please share, tell your friends about this webinar because it's going to be one of the biggest enlightening webinar we have today. My name is Ningitao, and I just want to take it to where we want to start. And I want to start with acknowledging a special group of people who have made this a success, and that is our sponsors. So I would go back to the iGaming team. Please play a video of our sponsors. Tell the world who we are and what they are doing. Over to you, iGaming Africa. Wow, that was lovely. And those are our wonderful sponsors. Allow me to shout out to them. We have Soft Swiss, we have Raventrack, we have Digitang, we have Every Matrix, we have One Xpeed, and then we have Kiron Interactive. And I'm sure we have someone from Kiron Interactive here. So I want to hear from our panelists. I want them to introduce themselves, tell us who you are. And I will start with none other than Sasha. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon. My name is Sasha Burma. I am based in Cape Town, South Africa, and I'm the commercial director for a company called Split the Pot. We do crash and simplistic games for emerging markets specifically, and we do really well in African markets with localized content. Thank you so much for having me.
It's so wonderful to have you here. I'm looking forward to know and learn more about what you're doing. And over to you, to the gentleman in the room, Patrick. Tell us who you are.
Hi, then thank you for having me too. My name is Patrick Eriksson. I'm based in Joburg. I am the head of marketing at Chiron Interactive. Chiron has been around for 20 odd years. Our core business is virtual sports and number games, also for a lot of emerging markets too. So we make it exceptionally easy for operators to bring virtual sports to their customers, whether it's in an online environment or in a retail environment all over the globe.
Oh, wow. Impeccable. And I am Lingitao. I am the moderator for today. I work as the communications director for a Silicon Valley tech startup called Gatherverse. And what we do is host events and humanize emerging technologies. So I'm very happy to have you here, and shout out again to our sponsors. And we'll just dive into the matter of today. And if you're part of our audience, kindly feel free to chime in with your questions, share, like, comment, tell a friend to tell a friend. And let's come to you, Sasha. Open up with this question. I'm very curious to find out from your perspectives, how well is AI currently being applied across African markets, and what's holding back more widespread adoption?
So we actually had a prep call yesterday. We had a head of technologist that was chatting to us about this, and she mentioned that there are no modules in AI, and it's a pity she hasn't joined us to explain exactly what that is. So maybe, Patrick, you took good notes and can explain what that means. But there are no African iGaming modules, meaning that AI isn't really able to use it effectively. We did talk about the differences between ChatGPT and what an AI-specific model for iGaming would be, and she was able to explain the difference. Patrick, do you remember her exact explanations? Because we were all a bit puzzled with it. Putting you on the spot.
I think it's. I think it's important to figure out what the specific use cases for something like that would be. Like what we find that a lot of what ChatGPT, even though it's not African centric or trained specifically to Africa, a lot of it, what it can do does work in our market. So it's important to figure out what the actual specific use cases are. I think what did come up was potentially looking to use AI in a regulatory sense, to have it pick up unsound activity when it comes to online casinos and things. Like the other day I saw that a casino had been caught with questionable T's and C's about being able to turn off their customers without any explanation, and that kind of thing could be hidden quite deep in T's and C's. And so you could have a website where you just provide the AI with a link to an online casino and say, hey, is this place safe? And it quickly checks the T's and C's, it checks local news, it sees that kind of thing to figure out whether or not interacting with that casino is safe or not. And I think there's an opportunity for Africa there, where there are just, I think I've gone completely off topic. But where there's just an overwhelming amount of new casinos popping up, and it's hard to keep up with what is or isn't safe. And I think that's where AI can be quite useful.
Yeah, I think. Sorry to interrupt. Taking it back a bit, I think just taking it back to ChatGPT and where the gaps are at the moment is that obviously casino data isn't easily shared. We're all quite secretive about what's going on. So there's not this huge data pool of, for example, in the research world, there are lots of case studies published online, which AI is pulling from. We don't have that sort of data set, specifically in Africa. We don't have the languages spoken, translations. There isn't studies published about iGaming. We're not putting huge research modules about Africa out there. So there's very little for AI to pull on in order to feed back for questions being given to AI. And as well, we discussed yesterday in our pre-chat, there's a very big difference between using machine learning, which has been done for years, which is what our CRM is based on, and what AI is used for, which is pulling a massive broad spectrum of data from across the world of various platforms to build insights. So in Africa, we're still very, very thin on it. There's a tiny bit more for the rest of the globe. But again, just remembering that the information is protected, the information is regulated, and it's very different to the rest of the industries where things are published and researched. And again, we're not allowed to actually produce huge research from an academic standpoint on iGaming because of ethical issues. I'm busy doing my postgrad at the moment, and I know for me to get ethical clearance on most of the topics I want to do is almost impossible because they're worried about how that information is going to be used. So if I have something about marketing and the best practices, how do you know that a casino without the best intentions isn't going to use that? So that's why we're having issues with regards to using AI and how can optimally be used in iGaming compared to other industries which are a bit more flexible.
Yeah, Sasha, I just want to chime in when it comes to models and what you just stated, which I believe is quite powerful according to what is happening in Africa, especially when it comes to research, data sets, and models are built on data. So an AI model is just a system trained to recognize patterns in data and make decisions or predictions, right, using the data. So when we look at Africa, we have a challenge of scarcity of data. Not only in the iGaming industry and most industry, we have a scarcity of data. And one of the reasons is because of infrastructure. I've lived in Africa for the longest time. We still are yet to catch up with infrastructure when it comes to internet, when it comes to access to computers, computing power, super large computers that can really feed AI models. We still have a challenge of that. And I believe that this is something that is gonna maybe uh, be worked on. This is something that is why we are here. That is why we have you, Sasha and Patrick, and our sponsors to help us just tackle this issue. And you also mentioned about marketing, which I want to bring to you, Patrick. In what ways? Are you seeing AI used in marketing to maintain brand consistency and improve campaign results?
I suppose we're at a point now with AI in marketing where because everybody's got access to it, it means everybody's marketing's kind of like good. We know you're not going to see typos on billboards anymore or like
Mhm.
spelling mistakes and things because everyone's using these tools to develop their marketing. um, and everything's got there's a clever play on words in every billboard, and every ad has some sort of clever analogy to it, and it's brought the quality of marketing up for everyone. So it's just, and everyone's kind of at this level. For you to punch through that level still takes a degree of human creativity.
Yes.
um, and so we're still seeing the really sharp messaging and marketing people in the world developing stuff that really does stand out against all the good but mediocre marketing that we're seeing. I think what's also important, you mentioned brand consistency, is that when using Gen AI to create marketing and imagery and messaging and that type of thing, because it's generative, it creates it's a new thing every time. The models have improved where you can kind of get your brand look and feel and your colors coming through with each image, but every image is slightly different. It does still take a lot of human oversight to make sure that you've got that consistency through your brand. Um, because they're quick to pick up on slight differences. So you can have 10 different images. I mean, we've tried a bit of it with creating images of the different sports players and different poses and things, and they might all look like they've got the same kit on, but some of the angles might be different, the shapes might be different. Eventually you've got 10 people in 10 different sports kits. So I think it's fantastic to generate ideas, and figure out what something could look like, but at the end of the day you do still need that human polish to make sure that you've got that consistency.
Yes, Patrick, you mentioned something to do with human creativity. I've been on LinkedIn for the longest time, and one of the biggest complaints I've seen from creators and brands is AI is replacing their creativity. Do you agree with that? Also, Sasha, you can chime in on that. Do you agree with that, or do you oppose, or what is your angle to human creativity versus AI creativity?
Can I
It's
chime in on
funny you
this
say
one?
that. It's,
Yes, you can. Let's hear from Patrick and then Sasha. I know this is gonna be hard. Yeah, but Patrick, tell me your thoughts.
I'll be quick. What I have noticed is that ever since ChatGPT and things came around, the people who never posted anything are suddenly posting tons of stuff. So and then you start questioning the authenticity of it. Where is someone just saying, "Hey, ChatGPT, give me 15 posts for the month and tell me what to say,"
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's often a lot of fluff. Um, but so yeah, my complaint would be that there's a lot of yeah fakeness on LinkedIn.
Definitely. And every social media. Sasha, what's your take?
So there are 2 points to it. I think definitely I agree with you. On LinkedIn, there are people that never posted and all of a sudden they have this ongoing reams. And a lot of it I actually find quite irritating. And I actually want to unfollow them because it's nothing specific to me and it's becoming a lot of noise.
Yes.
But if you look closely, the content creators who are really got their fingers on the pulse, you'll see they've stopped doing that. You can almost see their formatting of how they are creating content is completely different to how they are posting content. So you'll see it's three-word lines underneath each other with the bullet points almost, and their structure is different. So you can almost start to see which content generators are aware that people are getting fatigued and how they're adjusting their writing style. And you can see they're not using ChatGPT. So that's quite interesting. And with regards to branding and consistency, yes, at the moment, it's great. We all use it. We do sort of some marketing and we fact check it, or we get, ChatGPT to clean up what we want to do or make it sound better, but still there has to be some human thought into the process. And it's still very much about what you put in is what you're going to get out. And as we've seen, is you can use ChatGPT to launch a casino. Patrick, you mentioned this yesterday. You can talk more about this, really quickly and fast, but the longevity of your casino and your strategy. What is your long-term strategy? For the short game, it's a win, but ChatGPT isn't able to build a consistent strategy that's going to make you stand out from the crowd. It's not going to be able to think about connecting with your audience. Who is your audience? What are their nuances? What are their preferences? How are you going to tap into those people consistently? And what is your messaging? ChatGPT can't do that. Again, that's something that a human has to do. And again, you can brief ChatGPT with all of that and keep amending and building it, but you still need to have a brand plan and stick to that brand plan. So, there's ways of using it and there are ways of not using it. If you're lazy and you just want to use ChatGPT, again, for the short term, it's great. Long term, you're going to struggle.
I couldn't agree more on that, especially where you've said that if you're lazy, even ChatGPT itself or any AI LLM out here, you can't use it when you're lazy because it will give you the same output as anyone else who is lazy like you, most probably. It will give you the same output. And then we will have a just common post or any content that is very common and very mundane. So I really agree on that. And Sasha, I just want to stick to you because this goes out to you. What trends in gaming are you currently paying close attention to globally and within Africa? Patrick, you can also chime in on that as well. But Sasha, tell us what's your thoughts.
So obviously our hat that we wear is very much the emerging market hat, and that's definitely where the whole iGaming industry is geared towards, with all the regulations becoming so tight in our tier 1 countries. And obviously there's a big provider that we shall not mention by name, who's definitely owning the crash market. And how do we tap into that market and how do we make things different? And again, culturally, how do we tap into the cultural nuances and knowing that the traditional casino games isn't preferential to them? And how do you produce something that is different and how stands out from the crowd and kind of breaks away from that one tier mindset that's captured the market? And it's very interesting to see the different sort of things that people are playing with, the live chats that are coming up in with games, the conversations and how those live chats are being used, the different types of promo tools that are being developed, just kind of how to kind of capture that market that's incredibly different from our tier 1 markets and how they respond to slot games primarily. This is a whole new sector. And it's just very interesting to see how everyone is trying to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more innovative into tapping into this market.
Wow, thank you for that highlight. Patrick, do you have something to add on that?
Sasha touched on the chat functionality of some of these games, and I think that's an interesting direction that a lot of this form of entertainment is taking, in that it's becoming a bit more of a group activity. For a long time, even the slot machine is a very lonely individual thing to do, whereas a lot of these games are bringing out ways to make it a bit more of a group activity. For example, our live sports, our virtual sports that are scheduled just like live sports, we're exploring how to show how many viewers are watching that same game with you to make it a bit more of a group activity, where you can also see who else is predicting the same score as you, that type of thing, to make it a bit more like, hey, I'm enjoying this with a few other people, maybe whether it's in the shop or if it's or online.
Yeah, definitely. And just to add to that, when it comes to, I want to mention agentic AIs. I think this is the best place for me to mention agentic AIs. I'm seeing that trend will come up in the gaming space where we'll be having players, even having their own agents going out to play for them. And also for companies. I'm not a gamer, but I know of NPCs, non-player characters. Uh, these are some things that companies can really consider, who can play with the user and challenge each other and maybe make it more fun and interactive. I'm also seeing where AI can be used to predict users' behaviors. This can be quite dangerous when you predict your users' behaviors. What time do they play? How much do they play with? What is their time for playing? If you can predict such behaviors for your user, I think you can customize their experiences. So that is one of the trends I'm looking forward to. I'm sure the audience maybe have something to say on that. Please feel free to chime in on that as well. And Patrick, I'm also coming to you on this. In what ways are you seeing, what are the biggest pros and cons you have seen in the use of AI and machine learning in the gaming industry?
So pros, again, it's the speed at which you can prototype things.
Mm,
Even just like something as simple as Canva, to put together
yeah.
a mock-up of how a game would flow, and using built-in AI voiceover to just give like a sense of what the sound, the voiceover would be, or sound effects, that type of thing. You can go from literally zero to a fully fledged end-to-end mock-up of what a game could look like. So
Yeah.
and developing certain things for games, the pros would be like be able to generate a background image for the game, or a
Mhm.
certain bit of music or something. I think you need to be careful when it comes to your hero assets to make sure that you are paying close attention. If you are using AI to generate, say, the primary character for your game, to make sure that you understand where it might be getting those influences from, because if you're not sure, it could well be copying another game's look and feel without you even knowing.
Mm.
I think, and also on the documentation side of things, or even just some of the advertising. If you are going out and creating, I suppose what I'm saying is the gambling industry is just so you got to be so careful what you put out, because for example, if say you've got a clothing brand and you've put some marketing together, or a write-up of a t-shirt you're selling, and you've said it's 100% cotton, where it's actually 90% cotton, 10% spandex or something. All you really need to do if you've made that mistake is put a post out on LinkedIn, say sorry to your customers, and do some refunds. But if you are generating content or advertising for your casino, and somewhere along the line it said guaranteed profit, or it said something in your T's and C's where something completely not true, that it could be the end of your license, it could be the end of your entire casino if you're not careful with that type of thing. So positives: quick to iterate through prototyping and creating cool ideas and things. The con is you do need to be very careful about what you're actually putting into the market.
Definitely, absolutely right. And in tech, I'm a technologist, and what we say is the first one to fail fast and iterate and adapt. That is the person who gets the lion's share. So that I agree with that. Sasha, do you have something to add on that? What is your pros and cons?
Mirror everything that Patrick's saying, 110%. Also, at the moment, AI is, you were even mentioning yesterday, and you can probably back us up on this, is how many models are being built a day, and how far behind we are in learning and adapting. And I'm yet, and maybe there is, to see a job title out there for AI specialist for an operator. But again, who's managing this? Who's checking the AI tools that are being used? Are they being used responsibly? Are they being checked? What is the best way of using AI to optimize? There's no one yet fulfilling those roles, and there are no job titles with that yet. So it's a very powerful tool, but it's also, as you were saying, a very dangerous tool, and the repercussions being in iGaming are quite severe. So, I mean, again, I mirror everything that Patrick is saying, but again, it's a dangerous tool to be used. We could also talk a little bit about how it's being used for good later on, and how some of those models you're talking about, looking at consumer behavior, player behavior, and how it's helping responsible gaming. We have seen some companies really step into that and use psychological models in a really, really good way. So it is great to see that it has been used for good, but again, it could also be for bad as well. So it's just, how do we protect that space? We're also talking about regulation, like America is trying desperately to regulate. Patrick, I think you're going to add some more about this. It's just a bit of a scary space as well that we just have to be a little bit cautious about as well. And also data sharing. Once that data is in, it can be used by anyone for any reason.
Yeah, definitely. And in Silicon Valley, we call AI an apex predator. That because there's no regulation yet. And as I said yesterday, new models, over 300 models, are deployed daily. Every day, someone is deploying something on AI. So if we don't regulate, there's nobody to check what is out there, what is being put out there, what is being deployed. Is it safe enough? If we don't have a body that is doing that, humans have proven enough that they have an angle of good side and bad side. That is why we have bad people in the world. So why should we spare it in AI? So that is one of the dangers of AI. I love AI. I love how it helps humans and accentuates our ability. But if there's no one regulating it, there's always bad players. And with that, we want to take a break. We want to have our panelists drink some cup of water, and myself as well. But as we do that, we have an announcement for you that is going to play shortly. Please look at it and take the right actions. Do something when you see it. And over to you, iGaming Africa players, the good news that you have for us today. iGaming Africa, over to you. All right, as they prepare the video, I want to tell you about something good that is happening this year. And we prepared it for this year, and it's coming next year. I'm talking about iGaming Africa Summit that will happen next year, May 2026, in Nairobi, Kenya. Here in Nairobi, Kenya, if you're in South Africa, Joburg, Jamaica, wherever part of the world you're in, we welcome you to Africa here in Kenya for our next iGaming Summit Nairobi, and it's free. Yes, it's free for sure. So you can invite someone, and we will be having the biggest gaming companies like our sponsors. We'll be there live. We'll be having people like Sasha, Patrick, and so many other people that we look forward up to. So I would encourage you, get your ticket, go to iGaming Africa and share, and also anticipate to fly here in Nairobi, Kenya, May 2026. Mark that on your calendar. I'm not sure if we have the video ready. Perhaps the iGaming team can tell us as we wait. Let me see. I think they're preparing it. It's a banger. You're going to love it. Yeah. Right? Okay.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yeah, so before they find it, maybe we can go to the next question, and I'm coming to you, Sasha. In what ways, what are the ethical responsibilities? We've had the conversations of pros and cons, but we haven't really delved deep into ethical responsibilities. What are the ethical responsibilities should gaming companies especially consider when using AI on the user player data? Patrick, you can also.
Yeah, I mean, we can all agree, again, AI is only pulling the data that it knows, and that's been fed. So how accurate is that data? And again, I think using AI is also a lot to do with machine learning. So it's predicting player behavior. Patrick spoke about this earlier. As I said, there are some companies that are doing amazing work predicting and monitoring player behavior real time and intercepting them to stop any issues that they see. If they have an addiction issue or they can see some erratic play happening, they'll get someone to call them, or they'll send a Starbucks to their front door, because they know through psychological studies that if they interrupt them in that manic behavior, it stops them from making bad decisions, which could lead to either huge losses or self-exclusion, which again is bad for the player and it's bad for the operator, because you don't want a player to self-exclude. You would like them to manage their behavior so they're with you in the long term. So that's where AI and machine learning has really done well for good. But as you're saying, it's quite scary when not everyone has got good intentions. And that sort of learning modules and behavior can also be used to push and enhance. So it's using that fine line about, when is it good and when is it bad. We saw a big fine come through, I think, in Norway this week, where a large sum of money had to get paid back to a player because this casino didn't stop them, knowing that they had addictive personality and behavior. So regulations, specifically in the tier 1 countries, are really spot on with regards to watching and punishing and regulating this sort of behavior when casinos aren't using tech for good. But again, in Africa, especially in South Africa, where we're quite thin with regards to regulation and for our online casinos, even with the black market casinos coming through, that's not going to happen anytime soon, where, our government or regulators can step into that sort of level. So it is a bit of a scary space to play in. I don't know, Patrick, if you have any thoughts on this comment.
It does. I don't know if we can expect regulators to be the ones overseeing this. I think a lot of it's going to have to come from us, the technology providers, to drive this healthy use of AI. It's the important thing is also to make sure that the AI knows exactly what you're trying to achieve. I mean, an AI model that might not be perfectly tuned might not understand. It might just assume that it's trying to get the most money out of every player as possible. Whereas, like Sash was saying, that's not the case at all. We want people to play responsibly and play for the long term. And it's a danger to let AI models have too much control over what your players are doing and how it's influencing your players. So yeah, it does come to the data, and it comes to how well you're training these models and how well you're managing them.
Yes, for me, I call out a multi-stakeholder approach where I'd recommend companies, gamers, regulators, policymakers. I think it's high time we come together and formulate policies and regulations that favor the interest of each and every one of us, not only one-sided. Favor the interest of the government, favor the interest of companies, of players, and also policymakers. So for me, it's a multi-stakeholder approach, and that is why we have conversations like this. We encourage such actions to be taken. Well, the iGaming Africa team is back. As I told you, we have something big in Nairobi coming in May 2026. That is from 4th to 6th. And we're going to play a very small banger video, and you're going to love it. And if I were you, I'd be booking my ticket as early as now. iGaming Africa, please take us to that video.
The inaugural iGaming Africa Summit is poised to make history in Nairobi, Kenya, as the largest and most influential gaming industry gathering ever hosted on the African continent. Taking place at the expansive Sarit Expo Center, this groundbreaking event will bring together gaming professionals from over 100 countries, offering a truly global platform for networking, innovation, and strategic dialogue. With over 3,500 delegates, 100 plus speakers, 500 plus operators, 100 plus exhibitors and sponsors anticipated, the iGaming Africa Summit will serve as a pivotal convergence point for industry leaders and innovators. The summit is set to distinguish itself as Africa's first ever free entry gaming event. Attendees can opt for premium and platinum passes that unlock enhanced access, including exclusive networking events, private meeting rooms, full conference hall entry, VIP center access, and a spectacular closing party. The event begins with an inspiring safari tour offering a blend of Kenya's breathtaking wildlife and unique cultural immersion. Set in the heart of Nairobi, the Sarit Expo Center hosts over 3,300 square meters of state-of-the-art exhibition space, and making it the perfect venue to display the future of iGaming in Africa's gaming industry. This summit signifies our commitment to fostering growth, collaboration, and innovation across the African gaming landscape. Thank you so much, and I can now, of course, say that officially the iGaming Africa Summit 2026 is officially launched.
Wow, that is very impressive. The safari caught my eye. So if I were part of the audience, I'd be booking my tickets right now, and bringing my team along. That was very, very impressive. Sasha, are you taking your ticket? Patrick, is your ticket ready for the iGaming Africa Summit Nairobi? Are you ready?
I'm definitely very excited. I'm very proud of the team. I think I'm super excited, and huge congratulations to the team. It's really exciting to see them growing this way, and well deserved.
Well deserved. I agree. Patrick, are you ready?
I'll try to be there.
You'll try.
That doesn't sound convincing. That doesn't sound convincing.
Well, the awkward silence after
yeah, that is. I think I'll have a private conversation with you. All right. Thank you so much. iGaming Summit will be here May 2026, May 4th to 5th, and get your tickets today. You know, Patrick, I'm coming to you back to a conversation, and I'm just curious to find out, where is generative AI genuinely adding value to game development today? And is it being overhyped? Are you seeing an overhype of AI? Tell us your views.
I think I've already answered this in some of the other questions, where it's, again, it's just the speed of development, speed of ideation. I guess I can talk a little bit about something my team's heard me say countless times before, is that ideas matter, but execution matters more. You can, maybe there's more on the marketing side, but you can use AI tools to develop a comprehensive marketing plan and a strategy and all kinds of messaging and things. But at the end of the day, if you're not choosing the right people to actually execute it, it'll fall flat. There might not be true in a year's time, 2 years' time, but right now you really need a human in the loop where possible. So on the game dev side, I suppose you'd have heard the term vibe coding. That's coming up quite often, where these people or individuals who have absolutely no experience in coding are able to use AI tools to develop code and applications and games and things like that. And I have a bit of a coding background, but I've played around with some of these tools, and they work exceptionally well. It's very convincing to run. If it throws any errors, you tell it what the errors are, it'll correct it. But I can also see the flaws and all the dangers of coding like that, where you don't actually really know what you're doing. So it's one thing to build an application that might be 10 megs bigger than it should be on a phone, or if it's maybe it throws a few errors in the background. But when it comes to casino games, if you're trying to code like that and use an AI to code things, when it goes for testing to the lab, it's going to be picked up with tons and tons of flaws. So at the moment, as fast as AI can make developing games and things, you're only shooting yourself in the foot, because eventually someone's going to go through that code bit by bit and find all the things that aren't supposed to be in there. And you're also potentially opening yourself up to having your game abused by players if they can figure out I don't know, term is backdoors and things into the code. So yeah, it's again great for ideas, great for speeding along development, but be very, very careful with using it in production.
Definitely. And AI hallucinates, by the way. If you've used AI so many times, you will notice some patterns of hallucinations. It does hallucinate. So
Yeah, it
when
doesn't
you're
want to be
coding with
wrong. It'd rather tell you. Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd
definitely.
rather
So
tell you
when you're
something it
using it,
knows is wrong than not say anything. Yeah.
yes, yes, it rather tells you a misleading advice than tell you or just keep quiet. So AI has a
Yeah.
misleading aspect to that. And sometimes I also feel when it comes to the African market, as we addressed earlier, when it comes to data, we don't have enough data in the African continent. So I don't see AI playing a huge role in game development. Does it have the data of the audience that is here in Africa? Does it have the knowledge background of our languages? Does it have the knowledge background of our culture, of how we spend, of how we our approach to gaming? So with that kind, where we still have low data, I still believe AI has potential, but we are not yet there. Sasha, do you want to add something to that, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing as well is just, as Patrick mentioned, was security. Thank goodness we got labs testing, because imagine if this code wasn't being tested, the backlash of that would be really, really severe. So thank goodness for, as much as we hate the process of testing, it is making sure that we're all safe. And secondly, as you were saying, for example, in the market, I mean, we've got some players playing on mobile devices that are 10 years old. I mean, AI is not coding for mobile devices that are 10 years old, nor I don't even think they even know their capabilities. So remembering what the audience is, it's not your generic first world countries where we've all got smartphones and iPhones that are 16 Pro Max. It's a very different type of player and user experience. So the AI's experience in coding for those sort of nuances and like low data and on 3G phones. I mean, I was sitting in Pep stores the other day, which for the people that don't know what that is, it's our low-end market store here, where they sell cell phones that are literally the same price as a Starbucks in Europe. They're still using 3G phones. Can AI code for a game that needs to be played on 3G? So those are all sorts of questions that I'm not convinced AI is there yet. And as you said, those models haven't been built for building for the African market. So it's got a way to go. It's definitely not fail-safe as it is maybe for our tier 1 markets.
Definitely. And when it comes to, I want to emphasize on what you said, our devices. We don't have that devices, Pro Max, the latest Samsung. Majority of the people are just using some affordable phones. So if you're not creating games enough for that capacity, you're probably missing out on this market. And also the internet. I'm aware that most people are using internet bundles compared to Wi-Fi. I'm not sure, but there's a data that only less than 50% of Africans have access to quality, affordable Wi-Fi. So that is a very, very interesting perspective there. But I also want to bring this to you, Sasha. So many companies are collecting data players, but don't use it well. How can machine learning help unlock its potential in gaming?
I think this is a really good question, because I have a lot of meetings with my operators. And I was like, so what are we doing for your VIP players? Can we segment them differently? And I sometimes get this bit of a hesitation. We're not talking about our big operators. We're talking about, because we know those key players, but the ones below that are still doing really well in the market, and they kind of hesitate because they haven't segmented yet. And they've got, as you say, they've got the data, but they're just not using that data as an insight. And again, those players can make or break your casino. And you should be tailoring your promotions, your campaigns differently. And even as a game provider, when we do promos, we want to give those people more than we would a general player. So again, it's just back to basics. Another conversation that I have with a lot of operators is like, are you offering data free, which is reverse billing, to your players? And they look at me quite baffled. And these are big operators. They're like, yeah, it is somewhere on an app. And I'm like, but you're missing out on an amazing opportunity. So again, it's using that data to see, and again, in those operators that are using reverse data billing, I'll say, what is your percentage of those players versus using data? And often they can't give me an answer. So again, it's just using the data that you have and learn from that data. And these are difficult things to pull. But again, how can you speak to consumer if you're not using the data that you have to build specific campaigns or promotions to speak to them that ultimately are going to raise your GGR and your player retention and engagement?
That's a powerful insight there. I believe one of the most demanded careers that we have right now is a data analyst, someone who can just synthesize data into meaningful insights that can really help the players and also the company. So it's something to really invest in. I see our audience getting interactive. I see Abdi Nekhar, I hope I pronounced that right, saying hi to you as well. And we also have a chat from Anne on LinkedIn, and I want to channel this to you, Patrick. How can gaming brands reduce development costs and complexities for platforms and games by utilizing AI for performing for some tasks development? I believe you touched on this, but maybe you can emphasize more for Anne to really understand.
Sure. I think it is tempting to use maybe cheaper junior developers who've gotten good with AI coding. Instead of using a heavy hitter coder who maybe leans more on using traditional methods than AI. But I think it's again super risky. You're better off finding someone who's very good at coding, who uses AI to make their good coding faster, than getting 3 cheaper people who just use AI, especially with the testing that your games are going to have to undergo. If you're just building websites and things that don't actually need to be tested or don't have high risk code, then sure, get someone who's cheap and fast and uses AI. But if it comes to something like your games, I think you should really be spending the money wisely there and getting professionals who use AI in the right way. If you maybe want to speed up some of the testing process, you could try and teach an AI how the labs kind of go about their testing for things, maybe test as you go. That might speed up the actual testing process when it goes to testing. And then at least you know that the code you're putting down is sound before it goes off to be tested. Obviously, we don't always know how they test and what they look for, but I think it's better to make sure that your code as a foundation is excellent as opposed to trying to patch it further down the line.
So there's no shortcut. What I'm getting from you is invest.
There will be shortcuts. It's going to get better and better. There's no, I mean, look, I don't think we're getting that much closer to AI intelligence like in the sci-fi movies and things, but these models they're getting more powerful. That's not slowing down. So maybe a year's time, maybe a little longer than that. Maybe AI will be able to code just about as good as any human. But right now, you're better off having a very good coder who knows what they're doing with the AI, as opposed to having 3 cheap coders who have no idea what they're actually doing.
Definitely. And I see another comment from one of us. He's saying, oh, this is another question. And before we dive into that question, Sasha, did you want to add something on that?
I'm actually going to go back to your BI specialist and how business intelligence is so needed to have people that can dive into data and pull out insights. They are the holy grail for casinos, but again, they need to have cooperation within the team to know what they're looking for, or they need to have experience in iGaming to understand what they're looking for. A data analyst if they don't understand what they're looking for, they don't know what they're looking for. So it's very much a 360 approach to the BI specialist. I've worked in teams where, you're not allowed to even look at them because they're so expensive. But again, to pull out the jewels, they need to understand what they're looking for. So you're completely right. They're amazing. And they are exceptionally powerful with regards to reducing time wastage, automating things, finding our key insights. That I do agree with you is one of the biggest investments.
Thank you for adding that. Very powerful. And I hope you've gotten your takeaway there. We have another second question, and I'm going to address it to you, Sasha, and also Patrick, you can chime in as well. How can a company hire AI experts considering that this is a new technology and university courses are not yet offering AI courses? That is John who asked that. And I think I also want to chime in on that, but let's hear from you, Sasha, Patrick.
So, interesting enough, there are a couple of specialists in our iGaming industry who are around, who work as consultants. I think the best would be get hold of them and ask who they know and who they respect. You're quite right. There is a massive gap for it. There are no courses being offered. It is very much people who have a passion about it and can be vetted by other people and experts in industry. So that's how I would personally go around it. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Again, there is no job title or spec yet. I think it's still very much hiding under, like you were saying, a data analyst. I think that's probably where you're going to be sitting with that. But that's where I would go. Patrick, what are your thoughts?
So I agree with you there. If you are looking for someone who's just passionate about it and can come from a consulting point of view, I think it's best to just speak to the people who know people on LinkedIn and figure out who are the authorities in the industry. If you're looking for people who know AI, like how it works, how to use it, how to code it, how to build your own AIs, there you could look to Microsoft, Google, and AWS and Amazon. So they've got cloud certifications for different roles. So you've got data analyst certifications, you've got cloud developer certifications, and each of them also have AI developer certifications. And those certifications are exceedingly hard to get. You have to study for a year, you have to write a very serious exam. It's very hard to get those without having an innate ability to do this course material. So if you're looking for an AI expert, maybe not on the sort of what we're talking about today, with the more like the concepts and ideas and where things are going, but someone more on the technical side of things, you are you can look for people with those certifications. They're quite rare because they're also in high demand. So I think if you just look for AI practitioner, AI developer, that type of thing, from AWS, Google, and Microsoft. I believe there are some Salesforce AI badges too, but I don't think they're quite at the same level as the cloud providers.
Definitely. Yeah. In technology, we've been having a saying that says even the technologists don't know what is happening. They're also figuring it out. So my first strategy is having a learnable, adaptable attitude as a company, having that teachable attitude and ready to keep up with what is happening. That's my number one strategy. And number two, as Patrick mentioned, we have so many, even free courses and paid certification courses from all these big tech companies. Amazon is offering. OpenAI has a course just launched recently. Microsoft has their own course, but is more focused on their cloud platform, Azure. We have Gemini. Gemini is also, that is Google, is also having teachable courses for AI if you go there. And also, I'd also recommend professionals on LinkedIn. Personally, I have one that I've been really paying attention to. You can check Lafayette Global Launchpad is one of the biggest technologists in Silicon Valley. He's doing a lot of master classes on AI and consulting for big tech. So you can check that out, Lafayette Global Launchpad. They have very massive classes. We also have so many people on LinkedIn who are offering classes, and be ready to invest. I mean, what Patrick and Sasha said, be ready to invest and have yourself, make it a long-term plan, not just training your employees, but make it a culture for your company to learn what is coming new and how does it apply to your company. That will put you on top of everything. I see our time is we're almost winding up, and I would like to have closing remarks from our panelists who just shared very wealth of information and insights. I'm sure our audience have been taking notes. Personally, I've been taking notes and I've learned a lot. So, Sasha, what is your closing remark as we go? Then I'll pass it on to Patrick. Sasha.
In summary, looking at, again, what we started out talking about was the pros and the cons. I think we've definitely hit the pros, that it's there to finesse, to make marketing good, but use the marketing that people have created, use the insights that people created, and let it tap into a long-term strategy, which is going to do better with retaining your customers and retaining your branding versus a short-term approach. And that there's a lot to be learned. There are lots of ways to learn it. The cons are everything's changing all the time. And obviously there's not enough in South Africa or Africa with regards to machine learning or ChatGPT or AI to gather the insights that we want. So that's still a big gap that needs to be filled. And yeah, there's a lot of exciting things happening and a lot of blank spaces to be filled, which means there's still going to be a lot of growth. What scares me personally is what I learn about AI today is going to be completely different next week. I have a very good friend, Valentina. She is the whiz of AI and marketing in our industry, and she blows my mind. Every week she produces something and I'm like, okay, you've just made me feel stupid again, and I feel like I just got up to speed last week. So that is the con personally about AI. It is a full-time job to keep up to date on what's going on in the learnings, but there are huge potentials and really exciting things happening in the space.
Wow, what a powerful takeaway. Connect with Sasha. I'm sure she's on LinkedIn. Connect her with her, talk to her, see what she does, and make sure you promote her and what she does. Patrick, over to you.
Yeah, look, it's exciting. A lot of it is scary. It is moving very quickly. I mean, it's not long until we'll be doing webinars like this by just sending a photo of ourselves, a waiver for using our likeness and a short voice recording for you to put together the whole thing in AI. But I think on a personal level, if you aren't already fiddling with AI tools, I think try and make it part of your workflow. Whenever you have a question, maybe instead of Googling it, try and pop it into AI, have a discussion with it, use it for as much as possible if you want to get your head around using these tools. But when it comes to business stuff and using AI for that type of thing and anything work related, make sure you're using it as safely as possible. If you are using ChatGPTs and Geminis, try and make sure you're using business accounts at least, so it's not connected to training their models. And just be careful about what you're putting into these things. The same way you wouldn't put a bunch of contracts into an email and send it off to Google or something, or a representative at another company. You wouldn't export all your player data in Excel and send it off in an email. Just be careful that what you're doing with AI, with company data and player activity, could, even you just uploading it into the AI, it may not be entirely illegal where you are now, but it may be very, I don't know, against your terms of practice and things. So just, if you are doing that kind of thing, just make sure that the tools you're using are safe and that you're not breaking any rules by doing it. If in doubt, rather not upload player data to your AIs though.
Yeah, that is very
use trusted platforms.
Yes, very spot on. Be careful on what data you're feeding on these machines. Be careful, be careful, be careful. That is my key takeaway. My name is Lynn, and it was such a happy session with you guys. I think we can have another one sometime, right? And make sure you take your ticket for iGaming Africa Summit 2026, May date 4 to 5, and book your safari trip here. And we also want to shout out to our sponsors. Thank you for making this a success. Thank you for what you're doing. And we're so grateful. We're just literally grateful. I don't have another word to describe grateful. We're grateful. And I want to shout out to our organizers, iGaming Africa. Thank you for making this happen as well. They have a Telegram community. And just about iGaming Africa. iGaming Africa is a top media platform for the iGaming industry in Africa. And please join their community on Telegram. That is iGaming Africa. You will love it, by the way. You'll be updated on such webinars. You'll be updated on upcoming events or the next biggest company that you should look out to, or the biggest trend that you should be looking out for iGaming Africa. So connect with our panelists, connect with us, iGaming Africa, connect with me on LinkedIn, Linggetao. I was very happy to have you here. And perhaps maybe we have a video video for you before we just wind up. So thank you so much, our audience. Thank you for the interaction. Thank you for the questions. I hope you've gained something from this. And over to you, iGaming Africa team. Bye.